Our word today is compare from Creative Bible Study, a collection of words. Beware, don't compare. Galatians 6:4 in the New Living Translation tells us, pay careful attention to your own work, for then you will get the satisfaction of a job well done, and you won't need to compare yourself to anyone else. If anything can eat away at our contentment and our joy, it is when we begin to compare ourselves to others. Comparison will either lead to pride or envy. When I consider myself or my work as better than others, it opens the door to pride. When I consider myself or my work not as good as that of others, envy begins to lurk. Both pride and envy divert our gaze from Jesus. If you're like me, I would need several hands of fingers to count how many times I compare myself to others, and that's just in one day. God is continuing to remind me of the dangers of the am nots. They can lead us to, I can't, so I don't. They can paralyze us where we are and cause us to miss, I am. A few years ago, I was subbing for an elementary art teacher during her 6-week maternity leave. I was tempted to say, I am not an artist and I can't be a substitute for an art teacher. But God had other plans, better plans. In introducing myself to each class, I prefaced what I said with, I am not an art teacher nor an artist. I went on to remind them that although we are not all artists, we can all be creative in some way. The same goes for each of us as believers when we look at others and think, I am not. God has used this to further impress upon my heart that when we are focused on our am nots, we can miss the great I am. Exodus chapter 3, verse 14 tells us, God said to Moses, I am who I am. This is what you are to say to the Israelites. I am has sent me to you. Comparing ourselves to others is like comparing bees to butterflies. They are each beautiful and unique in their own way, not one better than the other. Stop for a minute and think about these two insects. Do you see one as better than the other? You may think like I did. My first thought was how bees produce honey while butterflies just look pretty. Yes, we may be able to see a product produced by these busy bees, but let's look a bit closer. Busy bees buzz close by their hives, remaining within about a 2-mile radius. Butterflies, specifically the monarch, migrate traveling over 3,000 miles. One's work may show up in a product, while the other covers more distance, but both have a similar purpose, pollinating plants. They both affect the world around them. Bees are builders. They may stay closer to home, but are concentrating on specific areas similar to that person who invests in the lives of 2 or 3 people or a single family, but goes deep and is consistent. They are making a difference. They pollinate and affect the world where God has placed them. And although butterflies seem to just flit and fly carefree from place to place, they are connectors, reaching far and wide like people who may think they are only touching the surface, but they know the names and have connected with a whole congregation or group of people, making each feel welcomed and included. They are making a difference. They pollinate and affect the world where God has placed them. Many times in life, as well as ministry, we may fall into the trap of comparison. We begin thinking someone else is doing more or doing better than we see ourselves doing. God has created us each unique and special. I cannot do what you can, but I can do what I can. What I am has called me to do and to be. Again, we can't let the am nots keep us from focusing on I am. God chooses to equip us differently, but uses us all. Go read 1 Corinthians chapter 12. Whether you are more like a bee building his kingdom close to home or a butterfly connecting his kingdom across the miles, you have been chosen to pollinate others with the message of hope found in Jesus Christ. It's not the bee nor the butterfly which matters the most. It's the pollen. It's the gospel. I'm still learning it's okay not to be able to do what others can. I'm not an art teacher, but God has gifted me with knowledge of books. Therefore, during the time I subbed in art, I focused on the art of illustrators, and we looked at art through the eyes of books. We must not let the am-nots keep us from doing what we are able to do. We must not let them keep us in a paralyzed state of doing nothing when we all can do something. Take time to read and maybe even memorize Colossians chapter 3, verses 23 through 24. 3 of my favorite children's books which speak of comparison, uniqueness, and contentment are Spoon by Amy Krauss Rosenthal, Giraffes Can't Dance by Giles Andre and Guy Parker Reese, and The Sneetches by Dr. Seuss. Teaching kids this important lesson is just as crucial as it is to us as adults of any age. Thanks for listening. May words become windows. Have a great day.